Thank you for tuning into the JMKing podcast with Jonathan M. King. That's me. You can listen on all major podcast platforms, including but not limited to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the Podbean app, Google Podcasts, Pandora, Amazon Music, and Amazon Echo. Visit my website, jmkingpodcast.podbean.com. The link to my RSS feed is there as well. Last but not least, subscribe to the YouTube channel, JMKing Vids Pods, and follow me on Twitter at JMKing Vids Pods. All links can be found in the description. And now, on with the episode. Welcome back to the JMKing podcast, talking top 5 favorite movies of all time with my friend here, Matthew Francisco, aka Movie Matt.
Ready for the penultimate round.
Number 5 for me, District 9. Number 5 for Matthew, Lion King. Number 4 for me, Clerks. Number 4 for Matthew, Schindler's List. Number 3 for me, The Count of Monte Cristo. Number 3 for Matthew, Return of the King.
Can I just note, not to interrupt you, I just want to note, the only thing I noticed today was I have 2 kings on my list.
The Lion King and The Return of the King.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one return, and it's the return of the
And this is the King podcast, so maybe there's some universal
something's going on that we're not aware of.
Something's going on here that we're not aware of. Okay, proceed.
There are forces at work here.
Proceed.
Yeah. Number 2. It's 2020. The sun's going down outside, but the night is darkest just before the dawn. And I promise you, the dawn is coming. 2020 will end at some point.
Please, God.
So, I'm not gonna lie to you. My wife will shoot me if I say this out loud. She could probably hear me. I wasn't the biggest Batman fan. Batman animated series, I'd rather watch Pokemon. They were on at the same time.
Shame.
X-Men, oh, we can talk about X-Men. Batman, he ain't got no powers, he whack. So Batman Begins with my family. Lowe's Theaters, right there at Richfield Park, New Jersey. I woke up, we watched the movie, fell asleep. I woke up. There was a girl in his backseat who was kind of like dying or something. Rachel Dawes, I don't know. I woke up again. His house was burnt down. I was like, Batman Begins, whatever. Fell asleep. Not the biggest Batman fan. But for some reason, when I seen the poster for The Dark Knight at that same theater, I was like, whoa, we got to see this. So my number 2 film is The Dark Knight. 2008, July 18th, 2008. Christopher Nolan, director. Christian Bale, Heath Ledger, Aaron Eckhart, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Michael Caine,
Gary Oldman,
Morgan Freeman. What a cast. Listen, that movie made me a Batman fan. That movie, and then Lego Batman coming out that year. And then the following year, Batman Arkham Asylum. Talking video games. But I remember exactly how I saw this movie. My brother was in college at the time. It's a summer vacation. I'm going into college. This summer, the orientation is like 2 weeks after this movie comes out. My brother comes home from college. Yo, I got his tickets to see The Dark Knight. Oh, sweet. When? 2 a.m. What? That's the only show he can get. And I was working at Madison Square Garden at the time. I was a ball boy for the New York Liberty, which is the girl Knicks, basically the women Knicks, the WNBA team. And I remember Madison Square Garden is on 34th Street, which is right around the corner from like a big movie theater down there. I'm not sure if it's still there or if it's AMC. I don't know. There were
on 34th Street.
On 34th Street.
Right, it's still there.
Right there. It's still there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's an AMC.
There were lines around the block for people to see this movie. I remember going to church the next morning. This is a Saturday night. I go to church. I have to be at church at 8 a.m. I'm an usher. I have to usher for the morning prayer service. I remember exactly when I saw this movie. And I remember the opening scene. The opening scene was something that was like on YouTube, right? The bank heist. It was like a viral
Oh,
marketing,
it was
right?
also like an IMAX preview.
It's like IMAX preview. I never saw it. I don't remember. I don't really remember a lot of the trailers either. I remember being dumb hyped to see this movie. I remember sitting in the theater, and of course the Joker. Y'all, you're gonna suffer through my Joker impression. I think it's pretty good. Um, takes his mask off. William Finkner, who's pretty tight in the movie, like he has a small piece, but him
Great
and that
character
shotty were
actor.
great
Great
character
character.
actor. Him and that shotty were great. He's like shooting people with a shotgun, and you and your friends are dead, right? Joker, like whatever doesn't kill you simply makes you stranger, right? Takes his mask off. The big reveal, zoom, orchestra, and all that. The strings, I love it. And then he puts a grenade in the man's mouth, and then attaches the what is that called? When the pin of a grenade, he attaches it
Right.
on a string to the back of a school bus, and then drives the school bus away. So the pin comes out, and the grenade is in his mouth, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, my head is about to blow up." You can see the fear on his face. And there's a woman like maybe 2 rows behind me who is like whimpering in fear because she thinks she's about to watch a man's head explode on screen. She was like, oh my God. She couldn't take it. That's what that movie was doing to people in the theater. That was one of you talk about Return of the King 5 years earlier. Dark Knight and Avengers were probably the two biggest, like, in terms of epic
Movie theater
scale
going
movies. It
experiences. Yeah.
yo, the guns were loud, surround sound. The people were that was intense. That movie was, and like I said earlier, a couple weeks after this, I'm in college. I'm at Rutgers. Orientation. I'm meeting all of my classmates and things. And they put us in, icebreakers and things like that. How was your summer? What'd you do this summer? Where are you from? We didn't have time for none of that organized, getting to know people. Nobody
Icebreaker
wanted to
stuff.
talk about nothing except the Dark Knight. That's all orientation was. All we did was just talk about the Dark Knight. The fall semester, all anybody watched was Dark Knight. It just took over. I mean, what Matthew? When you first saw Dark Knight, like, what did you talk? Because I can go on. What What are your thoughts?
I'm actually going to quote, one of the executive producers, Michael Usland, who was the guy who initiated the Batman film franchise. It was one of these retrospective documentaries for the Dark Knight trilogy. He says, like, you know, finally, with watching the Dark Knight, you don't just say, "Wow, that was a great comic book movie."
Mm,
People can finally say, "Wow, that was a great movie," because even people who've not even ever picked up a comic book in their entire lives can walk into that movie and just be enthralled by it. I mean, it's a crime epic. It's up there with something like Heat from 1995 by Michael Mann. That kind of
hmm
like large city crime scale with the police and the chases and whatnot. And again, this is a testament to Christopher Nolan as a filmmaker. Pretty much all grounded in reality. He almost wanted to kind of have these sort of larger than life characters in the real world almost, and that's kind of what made it tangible in a way. And to kind of go off to a tangent, tangible, to go off in a tangent,
Nice.
it's like one of his major influences, believe it or not, was the seminal classic from 1978, Richard Donner's Superman, which also had this
Nice.
philosophy about the big word that Donner uses in that film is verisimilitude. Like verisimilitude, again, I know I wish we had some sort of bot right now that would give you a textbook definition of it, but verisimilitude is this kind of, I think it's integrity of reality. Like even in the most farces of comedies or the most extravagant of fantasies, you must find some reality in it so that the audience can actually go on the adventure. And The Dark Knight does that in spades. There are no like, Mr. Freeze with his big ice gun, or Poison Ivy with her vines coming up, or like, Killer Croc coming out of the sewers. It's really, you have this madman, this terrorist who is literally spreading fear and chaos throughout the entire city. And you have this kind of mass vigilante who is in a way a criminal himself, is the truth.
Not in a way.
He is
Batman's
right.
a criminal.
Listen,
he blows things up, breaks cars,
yeah,
beats people up.
Listen, if there was a Batman like out there today, like we would have hunted him down and taken him down, and he would probably been in like Guantanamo Bay at this point, though. But
that would be scary.
That would be scary if like you have this guy
It's scary now.
It's scary, because even more so
now because cops have guns, and not all of the cops use their guns with discretion. There's collateral damage all the time with people who have the authority to do these kinds of things.
Again, how timely is that even now?
Black Lives Matter. Like imagine a dude who's got all that weaponry, but we don't know who he is. So we can't hold him accountable. We can't find him. We can't arrest him. Batman, that's kind of scary. And that's why I like because I like Batman Begins now, despite my intro to this.
Yeah. In retrospect, you do.
In retrospect, yes. He had to become a symbol, something bigger than a man, to the point where the criminals are now like the opening of Dark Knight says criminals are running scared. Like, nah, man, I don't like tonight. It's like, you're really scared of the Batman? Like, you're just one guy in a whole city of millions of people. You really think he's going to find you? Like, just the fear alone is like, And Batman was like somebody who was very afraid of things as a kid. So we turned that fear into this time my enemies share my dread. So the fear that he just kind of inspires amongst the criminals, just that fear alone keeps a bunch of them in check, to the point where, like Joker says, you have to have your group sessions in broad daylight. I know why you're afraid to go out at night, the Batman. Like, he scared all of these guys so that they have to meet in the back of a restaurant at a table to talk about their criminal stuff. He scared them to the point where they have to team up with each other. Guys that have had crime wars with each other, territory battles over drugs. This is my turf. Now we all have to team up to stop this dude. That's how big of a deal Batman became, to the point where you had to have somebody like the Joker who's fearless, that can actually challenge him.
If I could chime in at this point, it's like it's the theme of escalation, isn't it? It's like in a way.
What was the speech Gordon gave?
Which one?
Like we buy automatics.
We buy automatics.
They buy automatics,
and they wear Kevlar. Right.
We start wearing Kevlar. They buy armor piercing
bullets. Exactly. So in a way, one can argue that the Joker is really a byproduct of Batman.
Don't say that.
No,
isn't that an episode of the Batman animated series? Batman, you created us.
I think so. Yeah. Is that the one where they were like chasing? You find out it's a big dream, but like
I think it's more of a joke filler episode where all the villains are like, isn't that what they're doing? They're
the one
they're sitting around a table playing poker.
Table. Oh, like I almost got him.
I almost got Batman.
Yeah, that episode. Okay.
You created us.
Yeah. And even Heath Ledger, God rest his soul, won the best supporting actor posthumously. He literally turns to the camera, like he has a handheld camera at one point in the movie. He goes like, "You see, this is how crazy Batman's made Gotham." You gotta have to think about, like, sure, Bruce went on this. He had good intentions by creating this eternal symbol, what have you, but it's kind of a double-edged sword. Then the other flip side of the coin is, okay, you're gonna now create this new unstable element who's also in a very costume, very eccentric figure, and it's all because what was that line that Alfred says? He said, "You struck first." You spat in their faces.
You spat in their faces, and you hammered them to the point of desperation, where they turned to a man they didn't fully understand. That's really bad.
Right. Exactly. Well,
I
yeah.
can't do
Okay.
the Cockney. The
So
Cockney. I can't really
Bruce
do it.
Cockney. Yeah.
Can't do it.
Nolan loves Kane. Okay, but yes. See, again, this thing that I introduced early in the episode about moral quandaries. It's like, okay, you want to go out, put on a costume, and save the day, be a hero, but what are the repercussions of that? You know, what is going to be the byproduct of your actions? And herein lies the joke.
It makes the villains team up against you because they
Right.
realize they can't do it on their own. So they team up against you, and then you got to team up with other superheroes to take them down. And it just becomes a cycle that keeps going.
Mhm.
And the Dark Knight finds a way to to kind of close it, even though Dark Knight Rises exists, which you're high on, I'm not.
That's another
But
episode.
that's another episode. I think the way the Dark Knight ends, well, the idea of the Dark Knight,
Gordon's kid was annoying. Can I say that?
Gordon's
Like,
kid,
says,
is he okay?
oh God, I hate that book.
Is he
Go
okay?
ahead. Yeah.
And I think the genius of a movie, there's a lot of it, but the genius of a movie like Dark Knight is like every scene matters.
Mm-hmm.
There's no filler in that movie. Every single scene matters. Even something like that attorney who figured out that Bruce Wayne is probably Batman because he does his
It
numbers.
was that Wayne Enterprises guy. Yeah, and then
Yeah, even
Mr. Reese,
Mr. Reese, even that guy, even what he did eventually comes back into the plot. Like every scene matters. And it's like the way that the movie ends, every scene kind of built up to this idea of, like you said, the moral quandary of what is the right thing to do.
Right.
And the movie ends.
Justify the means.
Do the ends justify the means? Shakespeare is all well that ends well.
Mm.
And Batman is really like the true hero of Gotham, but he knows that, what does he say? We need a hero with a face. So he puts his stock in Harvey Dent, the district attorney, who eventually
talk about Harvey Dent.
who eventually we find out actually doesn't have the strong moral compass that Batman does, despite going through a lot of similar things. Brought him down to our level, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rachel dies, which is Batman's best friend, Bruce Wayne's best friend from childhood. He loves her, his love interest. And
Link of the trilogy, but okay.
And basically, yeah, for sure. And basically Harvey Dent's fiance, even though but Harvey Dent just goes evil. And
he goes all Anakin Skywalker.
He just goes evil, and Batman doesn't. But Batman has to lie to the people. They have to make this lie to the people that says Harvey Dent actually died a hero when he didn't. But he told the people that he died a hero so that the people don't lose hope. So that the people still, so it's like
people deserve to have their faith rewarded.
People deserve that. Was that the right thing to do? I mean, that's why I like it ending.
The third film answers that question.
Because Dark Knight Rises answers that question. But I like the ambiguity. I like the it wasn't. I like the well, it wasn't because Bane figured it out. But like the people didn't figure it out. Bane figured it out. It snitched. But like that's why I like the way the Dark Knight ends, because it's like we know that Batman is the real hero here.
Yeah.
And Batman Harvey Dent goes crazy and starts like killing people and stuff at the end. So they blame all those kills on Batman so that Harvey Dent can be the hero that the hero we deserve, but not the hero we need
right now.
And the theme we're talking right now, like I can geek out over this movie. I geek out over the action. I can geek out over the Bat Pod. I can geek out over the flipping of the truck vertically. There's a lot here. The movie has all that geek material too, and I think what's what we love about Nolan. Nolan can do an old-fashioned like blockbuster where you go for the spectacle, but also like your brain is engaged. But the theme of the movie is what keeps it eternal, or one of the things that keeps it eternal. This idea of what it really is the right thing to do. Do we lie to the people so that they believe the lie and feel better and can continue living? Or do we tell them the truth, even though we know the truth is going to break them, but we believe that Gotham will rise again despite, that's why I like the Dark Knight's ending. I like the ambiguity of leaving it open as a question for people to talk about rather than Bane coming in and be like, Gotham is yours. Like, dude, you know,
That's another episode.
what do you think? What do you think about like the action in this movie? What separates the action in this movie, keeps you coming back versus
You
other kinds of action in movies?
listen. You're there. You feel it. There's no like CG. We're gonna put post production later. Like he literally took a semi truck and flipped it for real.
He did.
It's funny. You and I had just seen Tenet about like 2 weeks ago, and Nolan is still doing this. He took like a real
Crashed
like
a plane.
Boeing crashed a Boeing 47 in an airport. Like who does that?
For real.
For real. I mean, and maybe it's kind of my last thoughts, but like, man, Christopher Nolan, it's like how many active auteurs are like working in Hollywood today? Sure, you got your Spielbergs, you got your Scorseses, your Tarantinos, but like, Nolan, he's like almost like a last of his kind. Like, you can literally open a film by just saying it's a Christopher Nolan movie, and then people are already lining up already. Like who, like what director can do like? Oh, it's a Jon Favreau movie. Okay, maybe you'll get some of us nerds there, or like, oh, it's a Russo brothers movie. Okay, but a Christopher Nolan movie? Come on.
Do you think? I mean, I didn't really realize what kind of Nolan was Nolan until I saw The Dark Knight. Did you think do you think Dark Knight is what created that mystique of we got to go see Nolan movies now because of Dark Knight?
For sure, yeah. It was literally Dark Knight that made Nolan who he is today, or at least, I mean, Nolan, because actually I was familiar with Nolan's work before Dark Knight, but it's kind of like, I don't want to say, maybe just as Jaws was to Steven Spielberg, Dark Knight is to Christopher Nolan. Like Jaws is what put Spielberg on the map. So too was Dark Knight to
like,
Nolan.
Oh, this is what this guy's movies are really about.
Exactly.
Because I ran to see Inception. I didn't miss Inception.
Mm-hmm.
And
come on, would you have not seen? You would be less excited if you've not known that was the guy who made The Dark Knight?
Yeah, because I remember seeing Inception posters everywhere and being like, what? Okay. And then somebody was like, oh, that's from Dark Knight guy. I'm like, what? Okay, sign me up.
Even in some posters for Inception, it literally says in the poster from the director of The Dark Knight. Come on.
Sold.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't, so I think like we're wrapping up because of time, but I think that like we didn't talk enough about Heath Ledger.
Get to mine yet. Yeah.
We didn't talk enough about Heath Ledger. Yeah. I mean, anyone who's seen this movie, anyone who watches any kind of movie, anything, reads any kind of movie, anything, I don't know what kind of new perspective we can offer on the goatness of that performance.
See, we're still talking about it today. That's how good it is. We're still talking about it today.
I think there's conspiracy theories out there about his death and stuff, but I think just the way that he prepared for that role is like, whoa. Apparently locked himself in a hotel room until he got the voice right for like 3 months. Like I just hear stories about how he scared people on set for real. There's that
stayed in character. There's
that fun scene of him breaking into Bruce Wayne's party that he throws for Harvey Dent, and he comes off the elevator,
slaps people.
And that's the first time Michael Caine said this. That's the first time that he actually saw Heath Ledger in full makeup, in full character as the Joker, and he actually had lines there when he says "We made it" and like comes off the elevator. Michael Caine is right there at the elevator, and he actually has lines there that he's supposed to say, but he was so in shock he didn't even say his lines, and they kept that take. He just looks and he's like, and he's just like, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Like, oh, very poor choice of words. We could honestly just go back and forth with amazing quotes from him. But yeah, what else can be said about the performance? We're still talking about it today. He stole the show. People to this point say this isn't even a real Batman movie because Joker took over.
Yeah.
And like we talked earlier about, was it I think Lion King, when we talked about how Scar, a good villain, is
A movie
able.
is only as good as its villain.
This movie's only as great as its villain, and the hero has to rise to the occasion to match the villain or to conquer the villain. And we talked about Lion King, how Scar wanted what Simba has, and Joker is battling Batman for the same. They're battling for the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Joker's whole shtick in this movie is just to get at Batman, just to gnaw away at his integrity and his mental fortitude, just to get him to break. Because if I can break Batman, then Gotham is mine. He broke Harvey Dent, but we lied to keep Gotham's soul intact. But he just couldn't. He couldn't get at Batman. He couldn't break him. Scar was able to do a lot with Simba, but Simba came back and was like, "It's still my throne, dog. It's still my throne, uncle." Batman, same thing. And what do you think about this? Is like a last thought about this movie. Like,
Sure.
Did Joker win?
Well, I'm gonna bring up. I don't think we have enough time to bring up the third film too, because the third film is about the repercussions of the lie. So, you know.
Unanswerable question. Does Joker win?
Well, I mean, if you want he didn't. He didn't win. He won. He won in the sense of proving that Harvey Dent was corruptible, but the city was still saved though, even though it's built on a lie. And then obviously Rises continues that theme though. So I do want to bring up, we're wrapping up on this movie, but it's that scene that you and I always talk about. It's like that final confrontation when Joker is about to fall off the ledge, the construction site. And then
I hope you're about to say what I think you're about to say.
Yes, I am about to say that. Like, he is literally laughing as he's falling to his death because it gives him so much satisfaction that he was able to break Batman's one rule. And he's even willing to die.
Batman's one rule for the
people. Just to prove him wrong.
Batman does not kill people. That's the one rule that Joker is like, he's like, I have one rule. And he's like, that's the rule you're going to have to break. Like,
yeah. And it would please him. It would please him nothing more than to just see him like break his one rule. But again, that's what makes a good villain, ladies and gentlemen. So.
I do want to say this last thing, and I do want to shout out our friend who made this point. He said that earlier in the movie, Joker tells one of the police officers, he says, in their last moments, people show you who they really are, right? So I know your friends better than you, whatever. In their last moments, people show you who they really are. In Joker's last moments, he's laughing.
There you go. Yeah. That's who he is.
You're number 2, Matthew.
All right. So the penultimate. What is the runner-up on this list? So it's funny, we talk about we've covered films that either like we're saving the world, themes of fatherhood, or like, superhero films, whatnot, big spectacle. How about a film with a man who has a low IQ? Right. Very compelling for the number 2 pick. But my number 2 choice is what year is that? I think it was 94. That year 94 keeps on showing up, folks. Is the 1994 classic directed by Robert Zemeckis, Forrest Gump. So I think I was probably 10 years old at the time, and I think it was a Saturday night or something. It was like one of those ABC Saturday night films, and it was on, and then I thought about, it's a movie about a low IQ guy, and I knew Tom Hanks from other things. I knew him from, he was Woody from Toy Story. He was he was the astronaut from Apollo 13. But like, do I want to see like him act stupid? And then like you watch the movie and you go, okay, it's about like, it's a love story, trying to get this girl, he was made fun of as a kid. But then it goes through like, it's like, it's even hard to describe. I know I say this a lot. It's hard to describe this film because it's not just one thing, ladies and gentlemen. I would say 99% of the time you can sum up a movie in like one sentence. It's a romantic comedy. It's a drama. It's a superhero film. It's a historical epic. Forrest Gump is literally like, it's not just one thing. It's all these things. And
Yeah.
films that try to have so many elements in it just ends up being a big epic mess. But this doesn't. It just I don't know. I don't know how they were able to do it. But you know what? Again, you'll hear me talk about audio commentaries all the time because apparently I have nothing else better to do with my life, but to listen to audio commentaries, but
Or make them.
or make them, or like what makes that story so credible. You go through the war in Vietnam, you go through like the Nixon impeachment, you go through this. There's this entire subplot in this film about ping pong. You go from the war in Vietnam to like a ping pong film, so it almost becomes like a sports film in some ways. But like, how do you make all this work? You make it work because because it's framed in a way that Gump, because of his, I like to label innocence, it's completely credible. Like, that's why you believe it. You believe it because Forrest Gump cannot lie. He cannot lie, and therefore, whatever facts are presented to you, though very extravagant, are actually true. So he's really your focal point throughout this entire story. And my God, what a story! You go, again, I don't want to go through listing all the things, but it becomes a fishing story. It becomes a historical epic. It's a love story. And by the way, we always talk about like special effects and grand scales and whatnot. There is the craftsmanship of special effects in that film. Like you show that film to like your average Joe, and then you tell them, oh, how many special effects were in that film? So, oh, there weren't really any effects in the film, but man, like Gary Sinise as Lieutenant Dan, like playing an amputee soldier. Like you don't think about it. You don't think about how much work that took to literally take a man who has legs and to show it on film where he doesn't. Like literally, there's in the behind the scenes documentaries, it's like there is literally like an obstacle course that was set in the set where like his feet could not literally touch these things because obviously it would give away the illusion that his feet were there. See, that's how intricate these things were. Or even like, going back to the ping pong, like there was no ping pong there. It was literally just like Tom Hanks and the
Swatting
other
it
guy
air.
swatting it forward. And, you have the great sound effects of like pop, 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 pop. And of course, not, it was a real novelty for its time, but to have like Tom Hanks be photoshopped into archival footage, you have like him meeting Kennedy or him interacting with President Johnson and all that stuff. And of course, I'd be remiss to not talk about the soundtrack. Well, the soundtrack,
The licensed soundtrack or the
the
score?
license. Oh, both. I was going to talk about both, but not only does it have a great score by Alan Silvestri, which you would expect at this
Avengers.
point, but like the Avengers, well, and Back to the Future.
Back to the Future.
But yeah, the licensed music adds so much flavor to the film, though. And again, it's just this hodgepodge of all these great things. It's almost it embodies why we go to the movies. Everything we love. We love spectacle. We love the drama. We love comedy. It just runs the gamut. And I don't think any film that has been made since then has able to capture that so well and not be a huge mess. So therefore it's my number 2.
Yeah, I think I hear what you're saying about what makes the movie brilliant is that it's everything. It's everything. It's every kind of genre. I'm not anywhere near as close to high on this movie as you are.
Yeah.
It just, like you said, Forrest Gump, because of it, he's a low intelligence of a man.
Yeah.
I guess when you see the world through his eyes, it's true. It's what's true to him. I think the movie is like mad long and And the 70s are rough. That whole middle act of the 70s is just really rough.
No, for you, I think it was the shrimp boat sequence where you kind of like.
I don't know. I know that it's very avant-garde. You cannot categorize it into a genre. But like I think what you said about the special effects aspect of it. This is 94, right? So 93 is Jurassic Park. And we see dinosaurs in CG. So we're thinking the next frontier of CG is going to be, what it is now, large epic scale things, but not always as much smaller, making a guy with legs look like he has no legs.
Right.
A guy who in 1993 or 1994, we have Tom Hanks in black and white footage meeting the presidents of the 60s and 70s.
And actually shaking hands with them,
shaking hands with them, probably had like a body double and did the face thing, like all of these nuanced special effects things. We definitely owe credit to Forrest Gump.
And that was kind of the first time you realize special effects are not just a spectacle, it's actually a storytelling tool.
Yes.
It's all about just the emotion and, not about awe or wonder. We're not seeing dinosaurs in the 20th century or, I don't know, we're not seeing the Death Star here.
No. Which was a model probably in the 70s, but
exactly.
Well, trust me, there's at least 4 Death Stars at this point in Star Wars. I mean,
it's a whole nother conversation.
We'll get there. Let's get there. But yeah, I do respect the historical significance of Forrest Gump. I feel like it's lost in the zeitgeist right now. A lot of people don't really talk about Forrest Gump. They know the iconic line of "Life is like a box of chocolates." They know that Lieutenant Dan. Like we know. We know the memes and stuff from what Forrest Gump did. But I think what you just mentioned about the special effects, that's what sticks with me as its legacy.
Oh, so that's for you when you think Forrest Gump, you think, special effects.
When I think Forrest Gump, I think life is like a box of chocolates. I think Run, Forrest, Run. Yeah. I think Lieutenant Dan. I think about Bubba Gump Shrimp. Like, I guess that's the point. I guess the point of the movie, because I try to boil it down. When I'm not really feeling a movie, I try to boil it down to what it's trying to say and what the point might be. Yeah. And but I think the point. Oh, sorry, go ahead. I think the point of Forrest Gump is not that it's supposed to tell a 3-act story or traditional story. I think the point of Forrest Gump is just for you to see and experience a lot of things through his eyes. And the reason why it's like a hodgepodge in terms of genre and film structure. I don't know, maybe that's what life is. We're just looking at a man's life from when he was a kid to when he was a grown man. And life is not a squeaky clean 3-act or 5-act epic. It's just things just kind of happen and then we deal with it. Line. Yeah. It's not linear. Things just happen and we deal with them. And I think that's just Forrest Gump is. Things just happen to him and he deals with it.
For God's sakes, the opening shot of the movie is a feather blowing in the wind.
Oh, artsy. Yeah.
No. But it's the randomness of the feather, right? The feather could have.
Oh, you can't predict where it lands.
Exactly.
Maybe that's the point.
That's what it means.
I guess the point of Forrest Gump is like that's what real life is like. You can't really real life. Things just happen.
And you try your best to make the sense of it.
Yeah, and that's what Forrest Gump constantly has to do. He has to try and make sense of everything because he's like a man of low intelligence and.
And here's another thing that we always talk about, because we always talk about protagonists and archetypes. Here's the other thing. Here's another genre breaking thing that it does. Forrest Gump, while he is we see the movie through his point of view, but he's not the one that goes through the dramatic character arc. Forrest is literally the same person from the beginning of the film to the end of the film. He really doesn't learn any. He really doesn't learn anything. It's really a good person. That's it. It's really the Lieutenant Dan character and the Jenny character that go through the arc.
Yeah.
So that's another. It's always about the protagonist clearly has a flaw and he goes through this journey learning these life lessons, or he fights a villain who's a manifestation of his insecurity.
Which there's nothing wrong with.
This is nothing. We're not bad mouthing that at all. But I'm saying, it doesn't. Forrest Gump does not resort to that structure, nor does
No.
it the 3-act structure either.
No, there is no structure to this movie, and that's like part of that is like
But that's the genius of it. There's
but
no
that's also the point of it. That's it for me on
it's
Forrest Gump.
literally a box of chocolates.
It's not literally, it's figuratively a box of chocolates.
Figuratively.
But
Well, I have the just to share a fun anecdote for the audience.
yes, tell
I
the people about this. Tell the people about this.
So of course I'm a huge Forrest Gump nut. Like I actually ate a bubblegum shrimp and whatever. But there was a there was like literally one of these special Blu-ray editions of Forrest Gump, which I did purchase, and it's actually shaped. Too bad we don't. This is only audio, but I could actually show it to you right now. But it's shaped like a box of chocolates, and you open up the box, and it has like the chocolate scent to it. Come on, how brilliant is that?
It's cool. It's definitely a collector's piece, and of course the irony, or maybe not the irony, maybe the coincidence is that wait, you didn't have to take the bus the whole time.
You didn't have to take
So
the bus.
wait, but if you knew you could have went around the corner, the movie would never happen. Which we both feel differently about it not existing, but I'm just playing. But that's Forrest Gump. Those are our number twos.
So number twos.
We're gonna take another break. Stay tuned. We have reached the end of the marathon. We're gonna talk about our number ones. JMKing podcast coming right back after this break.
Stay tuned, folks.
Hey listeners, this is Jonathan M. King here. Now I know we said we'll be right back after this break, and that's because Matthew and I originally conceived these 5 episodes as one giant inaugural episode, but we'd rather not overwhelm you, so we decided to split this up into 5 different pods. That being said, thanks again for spending your time here at the JMKing podcast. Stay tuned and keep listening on your podcast platform of choice. I'm on nearly all of them. Don't forget to visit my website, jmkingpodcast.podbean.com. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, JMKing Vids Pods, and follow me on Twitter at JMKing Vids Pods. With that, this is Jonathan M. King, signing off.